Welcome to the Family Corner. My name is Ben Sarcioni. I go by he, him pronouns. I have brown hair, I'm wearing a black shirt and brown pants. And I am a student orientation coordinator here at the BSU orientation program.
My name is Jay Gervin. I also go by he, him pronouns. I am wearing a red shirt and khaki shorts. And I am an orientation leader. Family Corner is a series of episodes featuring different campus partners at Bridgewater State University as they give insight into the BSU college experience.
In today's episode, we are discussing the Student Accessibility Services Office on campus. We are joined by Jenna Shales. Jenna is the Associate Director of the Student Accessibility Service Office.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I have short brown hair, blue glasses, fantastic jewelry, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with you today.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Can you share us a little bit more about your role here at BSU, how you may interact with students here on campus?
Absolutely. So I oversee Student Accessibility Services, which works with students that have a variety of diagnoses that might impact their learning and social and growth experience here at BSU. So I oversee the team, but I also meet directly with students, do a lot of trainings, and just generally work on increasing the accessibility on campus.
Absolutely.
Right. So I know you may have touched upon this a little bit, but could you tell us more about SAS and what it stands for?
Sure. So SAS is Student Accessibility Services. We used to be known as the Disability Resources Office, but we recently changed our name because it more accurately reflects the scope of the work that we do, and also kind of this cultural shift around stigmas related to disabilities. We provide services to students at BSU directly to make sure that they have full access to the entire kind of university experience package.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we had talked about what you guys do in the office and how you guys interact with students, but SAS is about creating an equitable experience for students in the classroom, as well as providing them the resources they need for success. How does that kind of perform, and how does SAS give that to those students?
Sure. So we offer a wide variety of services, but the really critical piece is that students have to self-initiate their contact with us. So unlike in high school or really pre-K onward, where the school district is responsible for identifying what students would be eligible, the student has to come to us and say, hey, I'm here, help me out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we start finding out whether or not they're eligible for accommodations and what other services, if any, would be best for them. And then through that process and kind of identifying their barriers, we can set some stuff up.
Yeah.
How does a student who has received accommodations in high school get similar support at Bridgewater?
So that's that self-disclosure aspect. The best thing that they can do is connect with us by email or phone. So our email address is sas@bridgew.edu. Let us know that they are interested in exploring working with our office, and then we'll kind of guide them through step by step. They would need to provide documentation to us that evidences their diagnosis and the impact of that diagnosis. That kind of is their preliminary way of qualifying for services through our office. But then the rest of it is an interactive process with our team where they chat with us, let us know what their experience is like, and then we kind of customize an approach with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So if a student has or feels like they may need an accommodation, but they haven't had one in the past, how would they go about those kinds of steps versus somebody who has had accommodations in the past?
Same thing, really. The only kind of advantage is that a student who may have had an IEP or a 504 plan in high school might be a little more well-versed in talking about their diagnosis and the impact, or have some ideas of strategies that have helped them in the past. But our team will guide them through that even if they're completely unfamiliar with those concepts, and we'll figure out what'll work.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Right, so as part of a student who's taking their education, so to say, in their own hands, what steps should they take aside from emailing the office? If they've never had an accommodation before, what steps should they take in order to make sure that those accommodations are being implemented?
So, being, I would say, open to kind of self-reflecting and chatting with us about their needs and any barriers that they experience is a really huge component of that. It allows us to more accurately assess what the student is experiencing in relation to their diagnosis and just in general, because, transitioning to college is hard. But that's the really big thing. And then if a student is interested in pursuing this, especially for the first time, getting that documentation, right? Or at least understanding what documentation is needed, then you can come to our office and we can kind of put you in the right direction of who you should be approaching in your life to get that documentation that you need to qualify.
Yeah, absolutely. You had kind of talked about like that tough transition to college, and obviously college is a lot different than like high school or like college life, and especially in the academic kind of talk. But why is it important that students go out and get those resources and the support they need in order to succeed here?
So if you don't start off with all of the tools that you need to potentially be successful, you're disadvantaging yourself, right? And one of those tools is accommodations for some students, or some of our other services, our peer mentoring program, for example, or some of the groups that we do. You want to make sure that you have all the tools that you may need to be successful right off the bat. When it comes to accommodations, they're not retroactive. So if you get to midterms and suddenly you're like, ooh, I really should have pursued getting extra time on tests or using assistive technology, unfortunately, what's done is done and we can't backtrack. We can set you up with help for the future, but you've spent half the semester without those resources. So I always think it's better to get stuff set up ahead of time and then learn that you don't need them or modify them as needed than to not have resources available and kind of regret it.
Yeah.
How can families be sure that their student is receiving support at Bridgewater? Or, in other words, how can families show up for their students' academic success?
It's huge. I think one critical component of that would be to know what resources are available at BSU. So even though the family isn't the driving force, right, making the student, let's say, go to tutoring or go to academic coaching or get their accommodations, for the family to know what's out there, they can then dialogue with their student to make sure that they are aware of and utilizing resources appropriately. And having that open dialogue and knowing ahead of time what the expectations that each party kind of has for each other is going to be helpful in moving that support forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of in that same vein, talking about what families can do for their students. From you, is there any advice that you can offer or give to families for students coming into the university, or maybe they're here, but just kind of any advice for them specifically?
I think first is to know that college is going to feel really different as a parent, right? Your relationship with your child is going to feel different. Your role in their education is going to feel different. Who you can talk to and about what, that's all going to feel different. So to have those conversations now and on an ongoing basis to figure out where that comfort zone is between you and your child, who is now your adult child and a student at BSU. Figure out what kind of support they need and where those lines are between let's share this information and no, this is completely my thing. Having that laid out in advance is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So, in regards to privacy, what can and can't be disclosed to the families of students who are receiving services from SAS?
So one of our goals in SAS is to make sure that students using our office are effective self-advocates. And because of that, we really focus a lot of our attention on communicating directly with the student and listening directly to the student. It's not to say that we won't speak with family members. We will. We do need a FERPA authorization to be signed, disclosing, which family members that can be released to or anybody else and what kind of information can be released to them. But we generally will not have a conversation with a family member or anyone else authorized on a FERPA without that student present, because it's really important. Nothing without them, or nothing about them without them.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenna, for your perspective on Student Accessibility Services Office here on campus. I'm sure you will be really helpful to many other students as they themselves transition to Bridgewater and learn what a great resource SAS is.
Thank you for viewing today's episode of The Family Corner, focused on the SAS office. Be sure to catch our other episodes as well by visiting the BSU Family Hub website, where we talk with other campus partners about the student experience just like we did today. We look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.